made a difference for the accounts. And funnily enough, the customers loved it as well. And we've had instances where our customers wanted to have access to these, these artifacts and things that were built as part of our own processes. So two dimensions of that and that getting done. Right now, I think it is at a point where I think this, if I can say that, it's almost like KM is back kind of situation, because I think the value of knowledge is even more. The change that I see right now is there is a lot of information, knowledge that is out there, external to the organization, which is as valuable to our customers. And so now it is, for us, at least in our industry, we have to really examine ourselves and find out then what is the insight that I have as an organization. What is that is unique to me as a differentiator internally. And how do I now uncover that, and which I think changes the life cycle. So I think the ask of the KM functions there would be sort of relook at the life cycle of this new paradigm. I mean, 20 years back, the amount of knowledge that was out there and what my customers were using, not as much. Today, that is as much as a competition is what is inside publicly available information, right? So help us identify that, and that may mean revisiting the whole life cycle, as it were. The second, I think, is your consumer has changed. What we have today coming into the workforce is what you would call the digital native, right? Now, this is the person who never ever had to sort of walk up to a television and change the channels, right? So they never had to do that. They were born with remotes in their hands or phones in their hands. So that, but I think there's a huge benefit in that sense, because that population being native digital is high on consumption. So they find it very easy to consume digital content, and there is an absolute thirst in that population for us. And we've seen that wherever we've tried to distribute content digitally, we find that population picking up. So that's an opportunity, I think. But the ways of now delivering content and ways of which or information or knowledge to this population, I think we have to sort of rethink how that whole thing works. But I think that there's an opportunity in doing that. Thanks.
Thank you, Ramesh. So for those who are in the CEO's panel, I don't know whether you spotted the difference between what KK said and what Ramesh said, just to provoke you a bit. So KK in the morning said that you should raise the bar of expectation. And here he says, de-glamorize, make it boring. That's what worked for him as a head of delivery with respect to rolling out KM in accounts. Right? Both have their own different ways of, philosophies around it. But what he also, talked about was the expectations that he has going forward with respect to external knowledge coming in and with respect to the millennial generation, the digital natives coming into the workforce. So I hope during the question answers that happen amongst the panel and with the audience, some of those facets will come out too. So Vivek, over to you for the sales and marketing angle of, how you have benefited from KM. Whether the knowledge management group has met your expectations, not met, what kind of gaps you've seen, etc.
Sure. Hi everyone. So, see, Ved and myself, we worked together when I was trying to create sales process for an organization that we were working together. And the biggest challenge in the knowledge management space that I see is one, let's accept it's a thankless job, right? And it is thankless because when KM engages with the business leaders, like in my case, I want KM to know what my business is, right? The CKO doesn't work for business. That's my view, right? Which is Chief Knowledge Officer, right? It is CKBO which works for me, which is Chief Knowledge Business Officer. You understand my business, right? Many a times KM is, and this may be a candid view of mine, but many a times KM is seen as an additional work for me, right? It needs to enable me to replicate and drive a consistent engagement with the customer and internally as well, right? And that is the biggest gap that I've seen across my career. Sales people are generally very, and we were talking about this during the debrief, that we are very superstitious. Like if there's a $10 million deal that I'm closing, I will not like to share many things, many good things, how I've made that happen, right? And that's why KM becomes very extremely important. Like the example that I'm sharing with you of when I was trying to create a sales process for a company and we were deploying a tool, Salesforce.com, which is CRM. The first thing was Ved reached out proactively saying, how do we enable the whole sales process, right? That's one angle of it. But this also needs to start from the culture aspect of the organization. How does the organization wants to disseminate the information, and the business does play a very important role. But the knowledge management being a very extremely important piece, it needs to first act as CKVO for me, right? It needs to mean that I have less work to do eventually if I put in that work. That is generally not addressed in a very explicit way, right? It's about the way I have seen KM working in different organizations I've worked is that there are some learning sessions which are happening. There are a few sessions here and there which are happening, but it's not very engaging, right? Like say, the first thing that needs to get answered, and this you'll probably whenever you will deal with a salesperson, this is the first thing that needs to get answered. What is in it for me? Is it worth my time to actually engage? And the organizations who are not investing enough in KM, they will not succeed eventually. Because every time we are trying to reinvent the wheel, and this I've seen in one of my most recent experience, we had almost like a $15 million deal on the table. It took us 2 months to prepare a proposal because there was no standard even proposal. Leave aside the content part of it and a whole lot of things. There were 5 departments all working differently, and I'm sure you would have seen this in delivery as well, right? This is where KM needs to play a very important role of acting as a glue. The marriage example that he was giving, but that's where it needs to play. But more importantly, it needs to understand what is in it for me and how it can enable business, right? When I'm sitting on a discussion table, I generally sit like this. All my friends here have a lot of notes. These are the notes that I've taken. If you can zoom it, people can see it's blank. Right? But the point is, as a salesperson, I always sit on a table with a very blank paper like this. I'm very open. The point is, the first thing I want to answer is what is in it for me? Can you increase my deal size? Can you increase my pain? Can the proposal go out quickly? Can the delivery happen smoothly? And how will it happen? Those are the things which needs to get answered, right? And that's my view on the KM part. That it's an extremely important, extremely important function, but it needs to engage more with business. That B angle needs to come in. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek. I guess he was showing the blank sheet because he expects a blank check from the customer every time he makes a sales pitch, and in real life it doesn't happen. So that's good because he gave a perspective about finally he has gained value from KM as a sales guy if we are able to reduce his time on certain things. So here is Rajesh who talked about business outcome as and in the previous panel there was this point about business outcome. Link KM to a business outcome, but he wants to be seen freeing up his time so that he can wine and dine more with his prospects, which is an essential element of the sales force. Yeah, right. So thanks, Vivek. I think some very, very earthy kind of experiences that you related and the expectations that you have, and plenty of gaps as well. And I guess a lot of KM practitioners in the room, especially with respect to sales and marketing, who carry such a rich knowledge because they are interacting with the clients and prospects all the time. So that is something that never really comes into the organization organically, right? So let's move over to Subhash Khare now. Subhash, your perspectives on HR and learning and development and anything else you may want to touch upon. Thanks.
So, the first time when I heard this word knowledge management, that was about 20 years back. And my first reaction was, what does it mean? Does it mean management of knowledge? Or it means knowledge of management? And I was told, no, people laughed at my question and they said, no, it means management of knowledge. But I think they missed some half of the bus there, because it as much means knowledge of management. The KM system must have knowledge of management, knowledge of business, without which it is incomplete. So the way, in those years, the way KM was implemented or rolled out in an organization like us, was a function was created called knowledge management function. And people were inducted in, people who were keen, and it was like positioned as a new initiative. So many new enthusiastic people came in, and a tool was implemented, brought out. And the main job of these people in the KM function was to influence business people to put in their knowledge items into the system, or to pull out the knowledge items from the system and utilize. And some kind of metrics was rolled out, how much is the utilization of KM, and so on. And also I heard people saying that there's a risk of attrition. So if people quit, then the knowledge goes out, right? And that made me wonder that probably if that is the connection, an organization which has higher attrition will see higher value of KM versus an organization which has lower attrition. So is KM a negative function in that sense? Right? It works for an organization with higher attrition. Can it create value for an organization with zero attrition? Those were the questions I was grappling with. Now, that was 20 years back. Cut to 10 years back. Now, visualize that 10 years back, an organization which has KM is making a plan called the future of KM. How KM will look like 10 years from now, which is in this year, 2019. And if you can visualize what kind of plan they would have made and compare it with today's KM, I bet that the two will not match. Today's KM does not look anything like what somebody could have visualized 10 years back for 2019. So somewhere, KM has not progressed the way organizations have progressed, the way technology has progressed. So what is the outcome of that? Still, in many organizations, the charter of people in KM is to follow up and motivate employees, to ensure that the knowledge items, the artifacts are put. That is still a push rather than a pull. Somebody once said that knowledge without intelligence can be dangerous in a human being. I would say that same is true for a knowledge management system as well. That knowledge without intelligence today is dangerous in a KM system. So KM systems of today must be intelligent systems, artificially intelligent systems. They must run in the back end rather than in the front end. And I would go to the extreme of saying that the KM should be invisible in the organization. It should be very active. A visual which comes to my mind is that of a duck floating onto the water. On the surface, the duck looks very calm and steady, not making any effort. But under the water, paddling like mad, right? KM should be like that. All the action should happen behind the scenes, right? So an employee may not even know that there is KM in my organization. And everything should be automated using the AI tools, using the new technologies. So the knowledge items should not be manually put by the employees into the KM system. They should be pulled by the system. And therefore, which are the knowledge items to be pulled? That is the intelligence required, which the system must have. Similarly, for utilizing the knowledge items, they should never be pulled by the employees out of the system. They should be pushed out by the system. So the KM becomes completely automated and completely effortless for employees. And therefore, no motivation required, no reward and recognition required, no publicity required for KM. And yet KM creates value for the organization. In fact, it creates immense value. A comparison which comes to my mind is that of an information security function. It is still a function in many organizations. You don't talk about it, you don't publicize it, you don't reward people for making their information secure. They have no other option. It happens automatically, seamlessly, transparently. You should not even know about it, right? You don't scan your laptop to check whether there is a virus. It all happens automatically. You don't have to do that. So similarly, KM should happen like that, automatically. a person may not even know that I have just utilized a knowledge item from the KM system. Not required to know, right? And secondly, now let me hear L&D head, because I also work with L&D. Intuitively, L&D person may say that KM must help in learning, but I am going to say something opposite of that. KM should reduce the need for learning in employees, because there is always a backlog of what you want to learn. And let's borrow that classical time management model into learning and say that there are some learning items which are urgent for you to learn, and there are those learning items which are important for you to learn. And you have a huge list in both the buckets. And when you have a huge list, you always give priority to urgent over important. The important learning items get deprioritized, right, in favor of urgent, which is not helping the organization, which is not helping the employees, because urgent things are never learned, right? So KM should ensure that urgent things need not be learned. That is where KM should come into the picture, so that employees have time available to learn important things, right? So KM should reduce the need for learning. KM should make itself transparent and invisible. And finally, I will conclude by saying, in a 10-year-old model of KM or 20-year-old model of KM, there was a huge dependency on the org culture for KM to be successful, right? Only if the org culture is conducive for KM, then KM can run. Can somehow we make KM independent of the org culture? Can KM be so automated that it can run in any organization of any culture? And on the other hand, start slowly influencing the org culture. Can KM as a party which is driven by org culture start driving org culture slowly and influence a culture of utilizing the knowledge items which you have in the system?
Thank you, Subhash, for some very radical thoughts on how should KM be operating in an organization. So the pull-push paradigm that is there, you have completely inverted it, and I'm very much, for what you are saying in a way. So I guess, probably we'll have some of the other panelists talk about some of these things as well. So one of the questions I want to ask the panelists, and any of you can start off with, in terms of, do you really get value out of KM, the initiatives that you have been exposed to in your respective organizations? Do you see that value, and do you look for ROI? I know this ROI question keeps coming up again and again. Also combine it with the kind of investments that the organization has been making on KM or KM-like initiatives. So do you really see that value? Do you acknowledge that value?
Okay, so in my experience, what I have seen, like say we, till the time, and KM is part of the overall process, right? I have seen it delivering ROI. During one of my tenures, we had a massive challenge. We did not have, with the starting in India and some of the other parts of the Asia Pacific and Japan, and we did not have enough feet on field, we did not have enough partners who can represent us, right? Services companies, such as say Mindtree or other services companies. And so we had to go and deliver it, right? And the point was that the whole exercise, if it's taking say $100, what is it going to bring us back, right? And that's where we created the whole process. Like say, who's getting trained? Why are we training them, right? How are we training them? How much it is going to cost us? And then we embedded the whole content that we had and the deliveries that we were making, the engagement programs that we were running, and we related it to the number of people who were getting say certified on our platform, or people, the amount of sales revenue which is getting impacted by with a specific partner. Ramesh is here, that's why I'm taking Mindtree as an example. But services companies or resellers or other partners, how do we really make sure that that particular training, there's a bunch of group of 20 people representing 10 companies, and what is the impact that we are able to see over 3 months, 6 months, 7 months. We started delivering close to 200% ROI on the overall investment. The growth was tremendous. We could land some massive deals. So that's one place wherein I have seen KM playing a very, very important role. But I would like to add one more thing there. The function, and when I say CKBO, right, the team which was working with us on that initiative, they were doing one thing very regularly, which is every month, which was they were doing knowledge audit every month, right? That is this the right kind of content that we have to go and deliver? And this I'm talking about not knowledge management within the organization. This I'm talking about knowledge management outside the organization. And it's not just learning and development I'm talking about. But they were doing very strong audits in terms of what knowledge to share. Is this really what we want to go and share? So that audit becomes also a very important piece, because most of the organization in the knowledge management space or function I've seen, the audits are happening very seldomly, which eventually goes and creates a gap. And then it will not deliver the outcome, and then someone like me on the business side, sales side, I will start asking, what is in it for me? And it is, you are asking for more and more information, you're taking a lot of my time, and I don't have ROI. But if we triangulate all these three things that I talked about, then there is definitely ROI. And I've seen this in action.
Yeah, so I would like to add something there. So, at least from my experience in Cisco and Dell, right? Knowledge management, I think, at least had benefit in where there is routine process or routine work which happens, like call center. Even in Cisco, wherever there is an IT help desk or employee help desk, and if it's a customer help desk, I think there are the places where we see ROI immediately, or you invest and you get returns. But where the content of work is related to innovation, to development of products, and we want to share information across the globe, best practice sharing, all that just doesn't happen. It's very, very difficult to make it happen. So as the process gets complex, as the activity gets complex, it is very, very difficult for us to make that progress. So another thing what I've seen is in both the companies is that knowledge management happens very well in the silos. That means in that department, it works very fine. But when you want to connect across multiple groups, that's where the biggest value comes for the organizations, where the gap is. So if you look at it as a gap, then if you look at it as you people are the knowledge management practitioners, that's the opportunity. That's the opportunity what you can see. These are the gaps we are seeing. How do we capture that opportunity? And right now, I think Subhash is trying to lead to that. There's enough technology available, or the technology which is coming up with respect to artificial intelligence and machine learning can connect these things without people getting involved. We can call it as intuitive. The knowledge is disseminated.